My dad died when I was 5 and my mom married my stepdad around 3 years later. He also had 2 kids, a boy who was 3 years older than me and a daughter who was 2 years younger, and he always treated them better than he treated me. My mom was a stay-at-home mom and never worked. He held the fact that he saved us from poverty over our heads. Things didn't get really bad though until my half-brother was born. He's 8 years younger than me, and I think he was part of the reason why they got married in the first place. When he turned 3, they moved him into my room, and then when he was 6, they, really my stepfather, decided he deserved his own room, so he took my room and I started living out of the living room. I slept on the couch and all of my clothes were stuffed into a coat closet. Any clothes that didn't fit in the tiny closet were donated away. Then, when I turned 16, my stepdad demanded I get a job and start paying rent. My older stepbrother was taking a gap year before college and didn't have to do that. The only one that was at all decent was my stepsister, who even begged her dad to let me stay in her room. He refused, which I don't blame her for because it would definitely be inappropriate for a 17-year-old boy to share a room with a 16-year-old girl. When I graduated from high school, my stepfather told me he wouldn't be paying for my college. A year before, he'd agreed to pay for my stepbrother's college entirely. I was able to get a few scholarships and loans to pay for college, as well as the money I'd save from working. I had enough for the first year, so I left. I met my now wife in my first year and she's the only reason I'm where I am today. Her parents were also wonderful, and after our first year they took me into their own home and then helped me pay for the rest of college. Her dad helped me get my first job and even invested in my business at the beginning. My business has really grown since then and I've become very wealthy. My stepbrother ended up getting a girl pregnant in his 3rd year of college, dropped out and now still lives with my stepfather and mom with his now wife and 3 kids. Since I still need to see my mom, my wife and I purchased 2 houses in my hometown. We rent out one and use the other whenever I go visit. Well, the last few years have been really bad for my stepdad. He had to close down his business over the global issue and some other things happened, so they're flat broke now. They need to sell the house to cover their debts. My mom knows about the house I own and asked if they could move into it. I told her that she could, but my stepfather and stepbrother's family couldn't. My mom was very upset about this. My stepfather called me many names, but mainly just ungrateful and heartless. My wife thinks I should just agree since it would be hard for my mom to be away from her husband, and I'm making my stepbrother and his family homeless. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, but I don't know why you bother to have a relationship with your mother. Honestly, why would you even let her stay? She watched him treat you poorly for years and did nothing to help you. She had choices, but her choice was to watch and let this man treat her kid this way so that she didn't have to work and she could be a stay-at-home mother. Sorry, she didn't get a pass from me because she had less power. This was just crappy parenting to me. If you ask me, I'd say stop talking to your mom and let the lot of them sleep in the gutters. I agree with this. I understand the empathy you have for your mom, I really do, and you have a huge heart. But you need to realize that your mom chose her comfort over your, at the very least, emotional well-being. I have children. My first is from another marriage, and I would never under any circumstances allow another man to treat any of my children poorly. There are choices we make to survive. I agree and have been there, but allowing your children to be mistreated is not one of them. Exactly, and now she's asking you to gift them all a house. So you're not allowing them to live there, you're essentially letting them move in a house that they will probably never move out of because they're all broke. That's gifting these people a house. Are you willing to do that? Because I wouldn't. Remember, you're not forcing homelessness on anyone. Their household has 4 able-bodied adults: stepdad, mom, stepbrother, and his wife. All of them are working full-time or at least trying. Were all of them working full-time during the hiring boom? No. I'm sorry to hear their financial stability wasn't a priority. That doesn't mean you owe them free housing. Whatever life lesson he was trying to teach you by charging you rent as a minor is a lesson he should learn now. Update: am I the idiot for telling my mom that she can stay in my house but not my stepdad or his son's family? The main reason my stepfather has so much debt is because of my stepsister's illness. I also help pay for her medical costs. She has since passed away, but my stepfather still has significant debts from those expenses. She was why I got back into regular contact with my family, but now I want to be in my mother's life to just be in her life. Many people blame my mom, but please put yourself in her shoes for a moment. She was an immigrant woman with no friends or family in a country where she barely spoke the language. She was working a very low-wage job when they met and could barely afford to get me food and clothes. She then got pregnant very soon after. Sure, she might have been able to leave him, but it's not as easy as some of you think. I can't blame her when I'm sure she was also emotionally and financially abused, and she had virtually no power in the relationship. That being said, I will talk to her about her relationship with my stepfather. I'll make sure to let her know that I will support her if she wants to divorce him, but I will not agree to any situation where he or his son might be living in a house that I own. Also, some people have spoken ill of my wife for taking their side. My wife is extremely generous, and although she thinks that I'd be right to cut off contact with my family completely, she also thinks that if I'm going to remain in contact, then I should make a full effort in it. This includes helping someone in need when I can do so. My wife always sees the best in people. My wife and I also helped out her mom after my wife's father passed away. Unfortunately, cancer has been a massive curse on the people that mattered most to me. My wife and I provided for her mother completely, so she thinks that we owe the same to my mother as well. Part of the reason I was questioning whether what I was doing was wrong was what my stepfather said regarding my stepsister. He made the point that she would have been disappointed that I wasn't helping the family. My sister, like my wife, was extremely generous. She would do volunteer work even when she was barely strong enough to stand on her own. The family was extremely important to her. After he said that, it made me think if I was doing the wrong thing. Especially since he's right that I would make life very hard for my stepbrother's kids, who didn't do anything wrong. My stepsister really loved those kids, so I feel like I should care for them in her memory, but I just can't get over how terrible my stepbrother treated me. The response to this post helped me stand firm on my decision because I was wavering. Thanks for the update. Your wife might be generous, but she was trying to be generous at your emotional expense. I'm sorry, that's an idiot move. And your mother has let this happen. I don't care that she's had it hard. A mother isn't meant to let her kids live that type of life. OP, get therapy. You gotta stop making excuses for toxic behavior. My wedding was days ago. My brother attended, but his wife didn't. She was nearing her due date to give birth and she didn't attend. The wedding was going well until my brother received a call from his mother-in-law telling him that my sister-in-law was in labour. He told me he was leaving, and my wife and I were fine with that, but the issue began after he told one of the guests that sister-in-law was in labour. Word spread out and suddenly everybody was talking about it, which disrupted the event. Even my parents started calling and there was a huge fuss which frankly was unnecessary if my brother had just left in silence or made up some excuse. I contacted him later and expressed my grief and frustration with his actions. I told him how the news of his wife being in labour disrupted the wedding and caused my wife to feel like her day was ruined. He lashed out, asking how any of that was his fault. I explained how he should have just left or made up some excuse to leave, but he said he didn't mean any harm and that he was in a hurry and worried at the time. He said it wasn't like he announced it and told me I disrespected him by arguing with him about it. We had a big argument and our parents sided with him and told me to get over myself and now expect me to apologise. So, am I the idiot? Poor you. The baby is obviously at fault here. The selfish jerk couldn't even wait until after the wedding to be born. What an idiot. Darn, baby ruined the bride's day. Exactly. And now their anniversary and the baby's birthday are probably on the same day too. The nerve! And the brother will probably have the audacity to celebrate its birth every year instead of OP's narcissistic relationship. This was the baby's plan all along. OP, you must disown the nibbling. LMFAOOOOO. What was he supposed to do? Lie to everyone? Tell his wife to hold it in? He came to your wedding during a time when his wife probably would have preferred he was at home, and you're butthurt because you think it ruined your special day. If your own brother's exceptional, amazing life event on the same day as your wedding ruined it, then you and your wife have problems. What was happening to your brother was completely out of his control, significant and scary. To ask him to conceal that at the moment because it stole focus from you is utterly narcissistic. If his wife was in a horrible car crash and medevac to the ER, would you want your brother to keep his mouth shut too? You owe everyone in your family an enormous apology. I'm so over this. The wedding has to be the centre of the universe for everyone involved attitude. Would your wife get upset with a guest who suddenly had a heart attack at the wedding or an allergic reaction requiring an EpiPen and ER trip? Parents told me to get over myself and now expect me to apologize. Excellent advice. You are the idiot, and your wife too. I look forward to the follow-up post next year where you and your wife complain that the birthday celebration for your niece or nephew has ruined your first anniversary. I'm a single dad to 3 daughters. This revolves around my middle, Juliet, nearly adult female. A few weeks ago I took her shopping for her prom dress. She picked one out that she absolutely loved, and she truly looked like a princess. Then, last week, she was very upset because she saw on Instagram that a classmate, not a friend but someone in her grade, had bought the same dress but in a different colour. She tried asking the girl to change and the girl, rightfully, told her no. I was sympathetic and let her vent, also adding that it was a different colour, so at the very least it wasn't too similar. The issue is Juliet has been trash-talking the girl for the past week. This is very out of character for her, she's never been a gossip, but I've heard her venting to her friends about it. So I let it go because what does venting really matter? Then I got a call from Juliet's history teacher saying she repeatedly overheard Juliet talking poorly about this girl. While the girl is not in the class and there's no evidence of bullying, she is worried it'll get there. I sat Juliet down and said while I understand completely that this is frustrating and I may not get all that comes with dresses and such, this isn't fair to the other girl. It seems she didn't purposely do this to hurt her. I pointed out the different colours. I also offered to take her to return the dress and she could get another if having a unique dress was that important. Juliet said that she shouldn't have to get a new dress. She kept trash-talking this girl. I finally told her, it's a dress, your feelings are valid, but you must stop being so dramatic and let it go. This upset her and she left the room in tears. I tried talking to her about it, but she stayed in her room. My eldest, 22 female, told me I technically wasn't wrong, but I shouldn't have said it. I try not to be a bumbling dad who doesn't know what he's talking about. I learned everything related to raising girls. I've always made it clear they can come to me for anything, etc. If I need to outsource a problem or they want a woman to talk to, they have their godmother, late wife's best friend. Was I the idiot here? Not the idiot. Trash-talking a girl for buying the same dress in a different colour is horrible. And it is a type of bullying if she's doing it to the point where a teacher calls you about it. Honestly, I'd tell my child if she kept this up, then I'd cancel the prom because it's not that serious at all. This is beyond standard teenager idiocy. I promise you this is standard teenage idiocy. My high school had a Facebook group for people to post and claim their dress. If you dared to get the same dress, the entirety of the girls in the group would make it their mission to ruin your life until you changed it. OP, high schoolers are a different breed. But what will she do in the future if she shows up to work and someone happens to be wearing the same outfit? I mean, there's a limited amount of places to shop in an area, so someone else buying the same dress is bound to happen. If you're going to get bent out of shape over that, then make your own dress or go to Etsy. This age is way too old to behave like a child and have a temper tantrum. How would she feel if the other girl had asked her to buy another dress and then trash-talked her when she wouldn't? In the good old days before the internet, she'd have only found out about it when she went to the prom. Update. I want to thank everyone for your feedback and advice. I sat down with Juliet again and said I stood by my sentiment, but I also think there has to be more going on. As I said, it's just a dress and this isn't like her at all. Some of you suggested perhaps she had prior history with this girl. She said no, they don't even really talk. They only follow each other on social media because everyone follows everyone. I pushed more and asked why a dress was so important. She eventually admitted it wasn't. Then she said she'd felt weird about prom and her senior year overall. When I asked why, she started crying and said she missed her mom, wished she was here, etc. My wife passed when Juliet was 5, so she never truly had her for any of those big milestones that a girl would have with her mother. Watching her friends go through all these things with their mom reminded her that she doesn't have one. I gave her a big hug and held her while she cried. I cried a little myself. I knew that Juliet struggled with her mom's death, but had no clue it was still such an issue. Once she calmed down, Juliet insisted that she had never said anything to the girl, but agreed to apologize for even asking her to change the dress. She also promised to stop talking junk. I told her next time to just talk to me about it. I miss her mom too. When my eldest was going through all these milestones in her senior year, I definitely felt that someone was missing and that my wife should be there. So, crisis is over. I know some said to ban her from going to prom, and if she continued her behaviour I would have. But considering she will apologise and let it go, I feel that's an overreaction. My sister asked me if I wanted to buy a house together as she wanted to own a property before marrying her fiancé. We often discussed it after graduating, and I still think it's a good idea for us to buy something together for multiple reasons, so I said yes. We looked at a few properties online just to get an idea about what we both liked, but we haven't done anything else besides discussing it. Her fiancé found out and he was angry about it, so he called my husband and completely exaggerated the entire situation. I was going to tell my husband myself eventually, but he's upset with me because he had to find out from somebody else. We keep fighting over it, even though I don't think this is something worth fighting about, as I was always going to tell him before we got serious about buying anything, and he's the one who always says it would be good for me to have my own assets. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. I can't imagine not telling my partner about something like that. That is a huge purchase that will affect your credit score, debt, etc. Not to mention, why wouldn't you tell him? What step are you in at this process? You could just say, hey, my sister and I were discussing buying a house together as an investment property. Are you cool with me using some of our finances to buy it? Even if you don't share finances, from a financial standpoint, this has implications for your taxes. On a decent human being level, omitting info is lying. Right? I can't imagine not telling my husband I was buying a house. Not just because it would affect him, but also on a normal relationship level. I tell my partner if I'm thinking of buying a new printer. Not because I have to or because it's a major financial decision or anything, but because it would just be weird not to talk to him about something I'm thinking about. And I definitely put a bit of thought into which printer. Surely you're thinking about a house in greater depth than I thought about a printer. Yeah, do either of you respect your partners at all? These are big life decisions that you need to consult your spouse on before you get in any way serious about it. I don't know how you could think you're not the idiot here. As a side note, if I thought my wife was seriously buying a house, I might think she was planning on leaving me.